name is Rodney Skinner. I'm a musician, a songwriter, and an aspiring producer. And I want to take some time to let you guys know a little bit more about me. I started playing when I was about 8 years old. It's kind of funny because I remember when I was 6 in kindergarten, the first time I saw a piano, the first time I heard a piano, immediately I was hooked. And just being a kid that was just really interested in sound, all kinds of sound, until I learned about this thing called music. And the moment I heard a piano in music class in kindergarten, immediately I was hooked. And so it took a little while, and so it wasn't until I was 8 I really started to take it seriously when my mom brought me a keyboard. She got me a keyboard as a Christmas present. And so ever since then I just started learning. Didn't take any lessons. It was just the gift of God and just learning from others as I go along. You know? Well, some of my biggest inspirations, starting first of all with my uncle from my mother's side of family, the late Wilbur Slaughter. He has been one of my biggest influences in playing as well. And along with people like Bishop Freddie Washington, who is a phenomenal player, and his son Freddie Jr. also inspires me as well. And listening to a lot of gospel music, getting into people like Kevin Bond, Jason White, Rodney East, Jason Tyson, Aaron Lindsay, Trent Phillips, so many people, Jawarn Martin, Greg Kelly, Nate McNair, Teddy Rollins, all these guys that played with Hezekiah Walker, so many people that I look up to. And also a lot of jazz stuff, Oscar Peterson, Art Tatum, Eldar DeJohn Giroff, Hiromi, Hazel Scott, and one of my all-time favorite jazz pianists, Brian Culbertson. He has been a big influence to me as well. And so many others. My list is just super, super long. I'm going to be nice and digress. Well, for me, growing up, when it comes to music, when it comes to, my understanding of music, I remember the first time I heard, music on the radio, gospel songs in particular, when I would be traveling, from church to church as a kid, with just me and my mom, just traveling from church to church, trying to find that one church that would really speak and pour into us, and pour into our lives. And so from every church I traveled to, the music was entirely different from what I heard on the radio. It was more so old school. It was more so out of the 40s and 50s. Very different from what I was hearing. While I was hearing people like Hezekiah Walker and Love Fellowship, Donald Lawrence and Tri-City, Orlando Draven and the Associates. I was hearing all the New Jack Swing gospel and all these grooves and all these beautiful ballads. That was the stuff I was attracted to. And so traveling from church to church, hearing the same kind of old school players, really, I thought to myself, this can't be how I heard it on the radio. This is completely different from what I heard on the radio. And so for me, I made up in my mind that, I'm going to be the best musician that I can be. Because there were times where people try to, take me aside and try to, make me play a certain song just like them. But I wasn't intrigued by that, When I started listening to, people like Bishop Washington and my uncle, I wanted my playing to go to a whole nother level, because they were doing all kinds of things I never heard before, arpeggios and jazz runs. I wanted all that stuff. And so over the years, the more I practiced, the more I prayed, God just showed himself to be, true to his word, and gave me the desires of my heart, and for that I'm grateful. Well, I believe that, for musicians, when it comes to, doing, cover songs, in particular, if you're doing arrangements of cover songs, to make it your own. I always emphasize on, how important it is to make songs into your own as if you wrote it yourself. meaning that, don't stress yourself out by trying to, get all the licks like the original players. Don't get so stressed out. Don't wear yourself out trying to play it the way it was originally played. Any licks, any substitution chords that you're hearing, for ideas of improvisation that you hear in your head, lay it down. Play it out. Spew it out. Because that pretty much saves you all the stress, all the sleepless nights of trying to be a carbon copy of somebody else. That saves you a whole lot of trouble if you just be yourself, you know? Well, when I really got into listening to other styles of music was in high school. And so it took a little while because I remember, for me being a church kid, I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ around 9 years old. And so when I got to high school, it really took some time for me to really, break out of my comfort zone to really open up to listening to different styles of music. And so one of my English teachers was very, instrumental in me, breaking out of my shell when it comes to, expanding and broadening my musicality. He knew that I play. And so thank you so much, Mr. Ott from John Dickinson High School for, just pouring into me. And so, yeah, I really started to open up to listening to different styles of music in high school. And so in high school, I really got into jazz, and I really got into things like funk, and also recalling the things I heard, the songs I heard growing up when I was a kid, when my mother used to keep Michael Jackson CDs and Whitney Houston CDs and Boyz II Men. I would go back to that stuff and revisit that stuff, and all that stuff will come to my remembrance. And so during that time, I just really grew comfortable listening to different styles of music, because I learned that music is music at the end of the day, and there's so many different stories to tell, Well, for me, what I enjoy doing in my time off, I love to watch television. I love to watch movies, particularly, movies like from the 90s and television shows from the 90s. I'm a big Nickelodeon kid, so I love 90s Nickelodeon, like all that, Keenan and Kel, Cousin Skeeter, Doug, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, etc., etc. You name it, I watch it, you know. And so I'm also a big fan of Tyler Perry as well. I love his plays and I love his movies. And so that's me. And I also love, I also love shopping. I also love bowling. I also love just, cutting up with friends and just, just fooling around, just being silly and laughing with friends. And so that's pretty much me. And I love to eat, of course, even though it doesn't show. Thank God. Well, first song I wrote was when I was around like 11 or 12 years old, and it was a scripture, Psalms 23. And my former church at the time was having a talent show for the youth, and I wanted to participate in it. I wanted to play and sing something, and I played that song that I wrote, Psalms 23, which was my very first song. Terrible melody structure. But the congregation seemed to caught on with it, and I thought to myself, I guess this is okay, so, and over time, the more I grew, the more I heard, and the more things started to really come together, and my songwriting really started to grow. When I turned 19, I started to really hear things more, and everything started to make sense, and everything just started to come together. Well, for me, learning songs in church, I pretty much learned everything from scratch. And so, songs I would never hear before, as for every, musician who grew up in church, if there's a song that you never heard before or a hymn that you never heard before, you have to play it on the spot. You have to try to figure it out some way, and so every song that I learned from scratch, and just taking all that home with me and just doing research and just, and just learning, the way it was originally written, and at the same time, putting bits and pieces of myself in a song. Some chords I would add, some, you know, improvisation I would add, and just make it my own. And I would pretty much learn, I learned it all, and so from church music, gospel music to songs I would hear, like on the radio, funk, jazz, and rock, and all that stuff. Even commercials and jingles and television theme songs from Nickelodeon shows and from soap operas, like Young and the Restless, Bold and Beautiful, Guiding Light, and all that stuff. Game show theme songs like Supermarket Sweep, all that stuff I learned. And so. Well, some might know this about me, for some who don't know that my secret love, next to music of course, my secret love, my other love is voice acting. I got into, doing voices when I was a kid, and my classmates would look at me as if I'm crazy. And so I thought it was really interesting, how you can use your voice in many different ways, besides singing, of course. I love to sing. But there was just something about, creating characters with your voice and just, experimenting with different tones and ranges of your voice. And so that was something I've always been, intrigued by. And even still to this day, I still have a passion for it, for doing voices. And I would love to get into voiceover and voice acting and things like that. And just to give you a sample, what's up, Doc? And I'm ready, and all that stuff, and please leave your name and number after the beep, things like that. And so that's one thing that some of you might know about me, and for some who don't know that about me, that's my other favorite passion is doing voices. I know it kind of sounds, I know it was kind of random, but I'm pretty random. Wow, there's so many artists I look up to in gospel and Christian music. For me, the artists I dream of working with, a few in particular, I would love to play for Bishop Hezekiah Walker. I would love to play for him, Donald Lawrence, Richard Smallwood, Yolanda Adams, Dorinda Clark Cole. The list just goes on and on and on. One of my all-time favorite artists is a gentleman by the name of Micah Stampley, and I would love to play for him. It would be a dream come true to play for him. And if I were to do some collaborations with people, I would love to collaborate with John Legend. I would love to collaborate with Jennifer Hudson. Let's see. I love me some great saxophonists. So I would love to meet and work with Dave Koz and Donald Hayes. They're two of my all-time favorite saxophonists. And so it'll be a dream come true to play with them. I love to meet some good saxophones. And so those are people that I would love to, collaborate with and play for, For me, what's important to me is to be able to reach someone where they are, whether they're in Africa or Germany or the UK or in Spain, to be able to reach people, through the power of music, and to be able to encourage people because, even in these, in these times, in this day and time of uncertainty for a lot of people, just to be able to encourage people and just let them know that, that God never fails. His love will never fail, and that He loves us for who we are, and that He is always with us, and that He is our only hope that we can get through this thing. Whatever it is that life takes us through, God is always there. And so I just want to remind people that God is love, and that He loves you as much as He loves me. So. Yeah, so you can definitely reach me on social media, on Instagram at RodSkinner23. My Facebook is Rodney Skinner Jr. And my YouTube channel is the same handle as my Instagram, RodSkinner23. And so I pray that these videos will be a blessing to you, and I pray that you guys will be encouraged and inspired to be the best you that you can be. And so may God bless you, may God keep you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.